Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in your journey when God hides you, not to punish you, but to prepare you. You look around and wonder why nobody sees your effort, why your progress feels invisible, why applause is silent and affirmation is missing. Listen, you are not being overlooked, you are being developed. Too many people lose focus trying to impress people who were never meant to understand their calling. They chase validation instead of vision. They perform instead of progressing. But God is not looking for performance. He's looking for progress. Quiet, consistent, unseen progress. You don't need the crowd to confirm your growth. You don't need people's approval to validate your purpose. The same God who saw David in the fields, Joseph in the prison, and Esther in hiding sees you where you are while others are counting likes. God is counting levels. When you stop focusing on people, you free your spirit to focus on purpose, because people can only see what's visible, but God blesses what's invisible. He blesses discipline. He blesses obedience. He blesses those silent nights when you wanted to quit, but kept going anyway. Understand this, God elevates quietly before he reveals loudly. The platform comes after the preparation. The spotlight comes after the secret work. Crown comes after the cave. That's why your progress may not look impressive right now. But trust this, your quiet season is not wasted. It's working. Every tear, every trial, every test is pushing you closer to what he promised. Don't let comparison steal your concentration. Critics distract you from your calling. What God is doing in you privately will soon speak publicly. So keep sowing, keep praying, keep moving. Don't post it. Just progress. Don't announce it, just advance. Because when God gets ready to elevate you, no one can block what they never built. Your story is proof that slow growth is still growth. Silent seasons are still sacred. And the same God who started a good work in you will finish it his time, his way, for his glory. Before God ever elevates a person publicly, he develops them privately. Every great story, every breakthrough, every anointed leader, every powerful voice began in a quiet place, unseen, uncelebrated, and often misunderstood. What you see on the platform is only the harvest of what was planted in private, and that's the part most people miss. We want the crown without the cave, the reward without the refinement, the stage without the struggle. But God's system doesn't work like that. He develops in secret what he plans to display in public. The private season is where the real work happens. It's where your heart is tested, your motives are purified, and your foundation is strengthened. It's where you learn obedience without an audience. It's where you discover that your identity is not rooted in applause, but in assignment. Private development is not glamorous. It's not loud, doesn't trend, but it's sacred. It's holy ground. It's the place where your faith is refined by fire and your character is shaped by consistency. Look at every person God used mightily and you'll find a hidden chapter. Before Moses led people out of Egypt, he spent 40 years in the desert learning to lead sheep. Before David was crowned king, he was tending his father's flock, killing lions and bears with nobody watching. Before Joseph ruled Egypt, he was confined in a prison, falsely accused, but still faithful. Before Esther saved her people, she was being prepared in the palace, in silence. Every elevation came after a season of private development. That's because God refuses to promote what has not been proven. He will never place you in public if your private life cannot sustain it. Many people desire visibility but lack stability. They want platforms but have not built principles. They want to shine but have not been shaped. The season of private development is God's mercy at work. He's protecting you from premature exposure because premature elevation is dangerous. It exposes you before you're ready, and what is not prepared will eventually collapse under pressure. You see, private development is where you learn dependence. It's where you discover that your strength alone is not enough. It's where you begin to rely fully on God's direction, not human validation. In that season, doors may close, people may walk away, opportunities may dry up, and you might think you've been forgotten. But the truth is, you're being formed. God is pruning, not punishing. He's molding your mindset, shaping your discipline, teaching you to trust him in silence so that when he speaks publicly, you'll have the maturity to handle it. In private, you learn what public can't teach you. how to be faithful without recognition, how to pray when there's no breakthrough, how to show up even when no one is watching. Those are the moments that define destiny, because consistency in private always produces credibility in public. You cannot fake authenticity. You cannot manufacture anointing. The oil that flows in public comes from crushing that happens in private. Many people want God to elevate them, but they're not willing to endure the hidden process. They get frustrated when things move slowly. They compare their journey to others who seem ahead. But remember, God's timing is intentional. He's not delaying, He's developing. Every delay is discipline. Every pause is preparation. Every hidden moment is heaven's workshop. What you learn in obscurity will sustain you in opportunity. Think about it. When God develops you privately, He's giving you something the spotlight cannot. He's giving you roots. Roots don't grow above the surface, they grow beneath it. They anchor you. They strengthen you. They keep you grounded when storms come. Strong roots elevation leads to destruction. So while you're waiting for your season, stop despising the soil. The soil is where strength is built. You may not see it, but something sacred is happening underground. You're being prepared for what's ahead. God is teaching you patience. He's refining your attitude. He's building endurance in you. He's stripping away pride, fear, and insecurity. Because when your moment comes, and you won't crumble under the weight of what you prayed for. You'll be ready, rooted, and resilient. Don't rush the process. Don't despise the quiet years. The same God who called you will cultivate you. He's not ignoring your effort. He's preparing your elevation. Sometimes He hides you so He can heal you. He separates you so He can strengthen you. He silences the noise so you can hear His voice clearly. The wilderness is not a waste, it's a workshop. The silence is not absence, it's strategy. In your private development season, God will teach you lessons that fame cannot. He will break you before He builds you. He will strip you before He strengthens you. He will humble you before He honors you. Because you cannot carry glory with pride still alive in you. You cannot carry influence with insecurity still ruling you. You cannot represent the kingdom with ego still leading you. So God develops you in private, not to deny you, but to define you. One day when God chooses to elevate you publicly, people will say it happened suddenly. They'll see the crown, but not the cave. They'll celebrate the victory, but not understand the preparation. But you'll know. You'll know it wasn't overnight. You'll know it was built in silence, through tears, through discipline, through faith that refused to quit. You'll know that your elevation wasn't luck, it was legacy, it was God. So if you're in that quiet place right now, don't lose heart. Don't question your worth. Don't assume you've been forgotten. Heaven knows your name. God is working on you, in you, and through you. Even if no one else sees it, you are being shaped for significance. The world may not see your progress, but your Creator does. When the time is right, He will make all things beautiful. In a world obsessed with applause, numbers, and recognition, it's easy to forget that God is not measuring your performance. He's measuring your progress. The culture we live in rewards what's visible, the loudest voice, the biggest platform, the most impressive image. But heaven operates on a different scale. God doesn't celebrate how well you perform in front of people. He celebrates how faithfully you grow when no one is watching. Progress is greater than performance. Performance is about presentation, but progress is about transformation. Performance focuses on how things look. Progress focuses on how things are becoming. You can perform perfectly and still be empty on the inside. You can impress the crowd and still disappoint heaven. But when you focus on progress, you shift from pretending to becoming. You stop asking, how do I look? And start asking, how am I growing? There's a big difference between looking successful and becoming mature. Performance says, I need them to see me. Progress says, I need God to change me. Performance thrives on attention, but progress thrives in intention. Performance wants the stage. Progress builds the strength to handle it. When you live for performance, your energy is scattered trying to please people. But when you live for progress, your focus is centered on pleasing God. You can spend your whole life performing for people who will never understand your purpose. You can exhaust yourself trying to keep up an image that doesn't reflect who you truly are. But progress frees you from that trap. Progress allows you to be authentic, to admit that you're not there yet, but you're getting better. That's the beauty of walking with God. He's not asking for perfection. He's asking for progression. He's not looking for flawless effort. He's looking for faithful movement. The truth is, performance is temporary, but progress is eternal. Performance fades when the lights go off, but progress endures even in the dark. You can perform for applause today and be forgotten tomorrow, but every step of progress is recorded in heaven. Every decision to try again, prayer whispered through tears, every act of obedience when no one notices, that's progress. That's what moves heaven. Progress doesn't always look impressive. Sometimes progress looks like showing up when you'd rather stay home. Sometimes progress looks like forgiving when it still hurts. Sometimes it's taking small steps after a big failure. Make no mistake, every small step is sacred. Because God never asked you to be perfect. He asked you to be faithful. The road to destiny isn't paved with performances. It's built with persistence. Performance demands validation from others. Progress is validated by obedience. When you live to perform, you live in pressure. When you live to progress, you live in peace. You're no longer competing with others. You're competing with who you were yesterday. You stop striving for applause and start striving for alignment. You stop chasing moments and start chasing meaning. Let's be honest, performance is easy to fake. Anyone can smile in public while breaking inside, can post their highlights and hide their pain, but progress can't be faked. Progress is real. It's messy. It's honest. It's slow. It's sacred. Progress doesn't always trend, but it always transforms. It's not about how perfect your worship looks. It's about how sincere your surrender is. It's not about how flawless your image appears. It's about how deeply your character matures. If you want to see true growth, you must be willing to stop performing and start progressing. Performance is about pleasing people. Progress is about partnering with God. Performance is exhausting because it depends on human reaction. Progress is empowering because it depends on divine revelation. When you perform, you constantly check how others see you. When you progress, you constantly check how God is shaping you. Sometimes we confuse activity with advancement. We think because we're busy, we're growing. But not all movement is progress. Some people are spinning in circles, performing the same routines, seeking approval from the same crowd, and mistaking noise for growth. But God isn't impressed by noise. He's drawn to authenticity. He's not looking at how fast you move. He's looking at how deep you're becoming. There will be seasons when your progress is invisible to everyone else. You'll be tempted to prove yourself, to show them that you're growing, but don't do it. Let God validate you in silence. Real growth doesn't need advertisement. The roots growing underground don't make noise, but they're the reason the tree stands strong in the storm. What you're building privately will eventually be revealed publicly, and it will last because it wasn't built for show. It was built to stand. Progress is not always exciting. Sometimes it's frustrating. Sometimes it's lonely. Sometimes it's filled with doubt and waiting. Progress teaches you endurance. Performance teaches you how to act. Progress teaches you how to endure. Performance teaches you how to please. Progress teaches you how to persist. You'll outgrow the need to perform when you realize that God's applause is enough. When you focus on progress, you start celebrating process. You stop beating yourself up for not being where you thought you'd be. You start recognizing that growth is gradual and grace is essential. You realize that every setback was really set up, pushing you to learn to adjust, trust God deeper. Every trial becomes training. Every failure becomes feedback. Every delay becomes development. Because progress is not about perfection. It's about direction. If you look back and you're not where you used to be, that's progress. If you handle what used to break you with more grace, that's progress. If you speak life instead of negativity, that's progress. If you keep moving forward even when it hurts, that's progress. Celebrate that. Heaven rejoices over progress because progress means growth, and growth means transformation. Performance wants to be seen. Progress wants to be sustained. Performance fades when people stop clapping. Progress continues even in silence. Performance lives for the moment, progress lives for the mission. So stop performing for people who don't even know your purpose. Stop trying to prove yourself to those who are not part of your assignment. Your value is not in your performance, it's in your progression. Every day you wake up and choose discipline over distraction, you're progressing. Every time you pray, when you don't feel like it, you're progressing. Every time you show grace instead of anger, you're progressing. And one day, quiet, consistent progress will speak louder than any performance ever could. So stop performing for the crowd and start progressing toward your calling. You don't have to prove your worth, you just have to grow in it. God doesn't need your perfection. He desires your progression. You may not be where you want to be, but thank God you're not where you used to be, because progress, even when unseen, is still progress. Keep moving, keep growing, keep becoming. Don't chase applause, chase alignment. Don't seek performance, seek purpose. Because at the end of the day, God won't reward how well you performed, He'll reward how faithfully you progressed. One of the greatest obstacles to purpose is not failure, it's the constant craving for validation. The need to be seen, the hunger to be approved, the desire to be celebrated. These things seem harmless, but they are silent thieves of focus. Validation feels good for a moment, but it distracts you from your mission. It's a counterfeit sense of fulfillment that fades the moment applause stops. Validation is a distraction, a trap that pulls your attention away from purpose and directs it toward people. We live in a culture that thrives on approval. Every like, every comment, every word of affirmation becomes a measure of worth. People build their confidence on how others perceive them instead of who God created them to be. But when you live for validation, you lose your identity. You start performing instead of progressing. You begin editing your authenticity to fit other people's expectations. And slowly, you drift from who you are into who they want you to be. The truth is, validation is an addiction. The more you get it, the more you crave it. You start chasing people's opinions instead of God's purpose. You start comparing your life to someone else's highlight reel. You start doing things not because they are right, but because they are recognized. You stop listening to your inner conviction and start following external applause. And that's dangerous because validation can make you comfortable with compromise. When your worth depends on who notices you, you'll bend your values to keep their attention. You'll start making decisions not from destiny, but from insecurity. You'll stay in relationships that drain you because you fear being unseen. You'll chase opportunities that flatter your ego, but don't feed your spirit. You'll settle for superficial success while starving your soul. That's why validation is a distraction. It diverts your focus from becoming to being approved. The need for validation blinds you from the voice of God, because while you're listening for the crowd to clap, you can't hear heaven's call. The approval of others becomes louder than divine direction. You start asking, do they like me? Instead of, am I aligned with God's will? You start pursuing what's popular instead of what's purposeful. But you can't fulfill your calling while chasing compliments. God didn't call you to impress. He called you to impact. When you finally realize that your value doesn't come from people, something powerful happens. You become free. Free from the opinions that used to control you. Free from the anxiety of needing to be seen. Free from the fear of rejection. Because when you understand that you were chosen before you were noticed, you no longer need validation to feel valuable. People's opinions are unstable. The same crowd that cheers you today can criticize you tomorrow. The same voices that lift you up can tear you down when you stop meeting their expectations. If your identity is built on their approval, it will crumble when their applause fades. But when your identity is anchored in God, it stands firm, unshaken, bothered, and unbreakable. Validation is a distraction because it shifts your focus from purpose to performance. You start working for recognition instead of transformation. You start measuring your worth by external results instead of internal growth. God doesn't measure like people do. People see the surface, God sees the soul. People applaud the outcome, God honors the obedience. People celebrate performance, God rewards progress. Think about Jesus. He performed miracles, healed the sick, raised the dead, and yet many still doubted him. Some loved him one day and shouted, "Crucify him," the next. But he never stopped to seek validation. He stayed focused on his mission. He didn't allow people's opinions to distract him from purpose. He understood that validation from men is fleeting, but approval from heaven is eternal. That's the posture of power, when you no longer need to be seen to feel significant. Validation often comes from insecurity. When you don't truly know who you are, you'll seek confirmation from others to feel complete. But no amount of approval can fill an identity void. You can't build confidence on compliments. True confidence comes from knowing that you were chosen, called, and equipped by God, not because people said so, because heaven decided so. There will be times when your journey feels lonely because you stop chasing validation. A crowd might not understand your silence. They may misinterpret your separation. Sometimes God isolates you to protect you from influence that could corrupt your growth. The absence of applause is not rejection. It's refinement. God removes the noise so you can hear his voice clearly. Validation is a distraction because it delays development. When you spend your energy trying to please everyone, you neglect the process of becoming who God called you to be. You start focusing on impressions rather than improvement. You waste time performing when you should be preparing. Every time you look for someone to approve you, you give them the power to define you. Stop waiting for others to validate what God already confirmed. You don't need permission to walk in purpose. You don't need approval to be anointed. You don't need affirmation to be effective. The very people you're trying to impress might not even understand the magnitude of your calling. God didn't call them to approve you. He called them to witness what he's doing through you. When you no longer seek validation, you start walking in freedom. You stop needing to prove yourself. You stop explaining yourself. You stop apologizing for your growth. You realize that obedience is greater than opinions. You understand that favor is not voted on, it's given by grace. And when you walk in that truth, the same people who ignored you will one day recognize the hand of God on your life. Validation is a distraction because it steals your focus from your assignment. The enemy doesn't need to destroy you. He just needs to distract you. If he can make you obsessed with being liked, he can keep you from being effective. He knows you can't carry purpose if you're constantly chasing popularity. He knows that as long as you're focused on applause, you'll forget your anointing. But hear this, you were not created to fit in. You were created to stand out. You were not built for applause. You were built for assignment. The people you're trying to impress didn't call you, didn't bless you, and can't elevate you. God did. And when God approves you, no rejection can stop you. So stop looking for validation in people who don't even know your story. Stop trying to prove your worth through performance. Stop giving others the power to dictate your peace. The only validation that matters is divine validation. The kind that doesn't fade, doesn't fluctuate, and doesn't fail. Every time you choose purpose over popularity, you grow. Every time you say yes to obedience instead of approval, you evolve. Every time you let go of people's opinions to hold on to God's promise, you elevate. The truth is simple validation is a distraction. It keeps you looking around when God needs you to look up. It keeps you performing when God needs you progressing. It keeps you chasing applause when God is calling you to alignment. The sooner you release the need for validation, the sooner you'll step into liberation. You don't need them to see you. You just need to stay faithful. Because when God decides to reveal you, he'll do it in a way that no person can deny. So stay focused, stay humble, stay consistent. You don't need validation to walk in purpose. You already have God's approval. That's more than enough. God has a way of moving in silence that confuses the human mind. While you are worrying, he is working. While you are doubting, he is designing. While you are crying, he is crafting. He doesn't always announce what he's doing, but that doesn't mean he isn't doing something. God works in secrecy. He operates in the unseen places, behind the curtain of your circumstances, shaping outcomes you can't yet perceive. There's something sacred about the way God moves. He doesn't need to make noise to make impact. He doesn't need to explain his methods to justify his miracles. When God is building your future, he often hides his hand. Not because he wants to confuse you, because he wants to mature you. If he showed you everything at once, your faith would have no reason to grow. So he hides his process so that you can learn to trust his presence. We often get frustrated in seasons of silence. We think God is ignoring us, delaying us, denying us. But what if the silence isn't absence? It's activity. What if the quietness is not a sign that God is far away, but a sign that he's working deeply? Some of God's greatest works happen in secret. He planted Joseph in a prison before promoting him to a palace. He had Moses in the desert before sending him to deliver a nation. He prepared David in obscurity before revealing him as king. He nurtured Jesus in 30 years of silence before 3 years of public ministry. The hidden place is always heaven's workshop. When God works in secrecy, it's protecting what he's producing. Not everything can survive exposure. Some blessings have to develop in private before they can be revealed in public. When a seed is planted, it's buried in the dirt, unseen, untouched, uncelebrated. But underground, life is happening. The roots are spreading, strength is forming, and the foundation is being built. If you judge the seed too early, you'd think it was dead. But it's not dead. It's developing. That's what God is doing in your life. You may not see the evidence yet, but he's working beneath the surface. Sometimes God hides you to protect you from being mishandled. He hides your progress from people who would misinterpret your process. He conceals your promise so it can't be contaminated by premature exposure. You may think the delay is punishment, but it's actually preservation. God knows that revelation without preparation leads to destruction. So he keeps you in the secret place until you are ready to handle the weight of what he's building. When God works in secrecy, it teaches you dependence. You learn to trust him even when you can't trace him. You learn that faith is not about feeling, it's about believing. You learn that silence does not equal stillness, that God can be invisible yet active, quiet yet moving, unseen yet undefeated. The longer you walk with him, more you understand that his greatest masterpieces are painted in the dark. Think about how creation began. The Bible says the earth was without form and void, and darkness covered the face of the deep. Out of that darkness, God spoke light into existence. Out of that silence, he brought forth life. Creation itself is proof that God works best in the dark. You may not see what he's doing right now, but don't mistake invisibility for inactivity, as God's absence is often an illusion. He's just working undercover. Das ist heißt, when God is silent, it's usually because he's doing something too strategic to explain. His silence is not neglect, it's navigation. He's rearranging things, aligning people, opening doors you didn't even know existed. He's fighting battles you don't even know are happening. He's preparing opportunities that haven't even entered your imagination. God's secrecy is not rejection, it's preparation. There's a reason why diamonds are formed underground and pearls, ours, are created in the hidden depths of the ocean. Valuable things are never made in public. They're formed under pressure, in darkness, in silence. And that's how God works, in the places no one sees, shaping you into something precious. You feel hidden, don't panic. It means God is investing in you. The secret place is not a prison, it's a process. It's where God strengthens your faith, purifies your motives, and fortifies your heart. It's where he teaches you how to worship without a witness, how to serve without recognition, and how to remain consistent without applause. Those who can trust God in secrecy are the ones he can trust with visibility. Sometimes we want God to reveal everything, every step, every plan, every reason. But God doesn't owe us explanations. He offers us revelation in his time. He revealed the whole picture, we'd try to control it. So he gives us glimpses, just enough light for the next step. That's what walking by faith means, trusting that even when you can't see the full plan, the planner knows exactly what he's doing. God works in secrecy. It's because what he's preparing is too powerful for premature exposure. The enemy can't attack what he can't see. So God hides your next move until it's time. He blinds the eyes of those who would try to sabotage your purpose. He covers your progress until the appointed moment, and when the time comes, he reveals you suddenly. Not because it was sudden, because it was silent until now. You may be praying for God to show you evidence, but God is looking for endurance. He's asking, can you trust me when you don't understand me? Can you stay faithful when you don't see fruit yet? Can you believe I'm working even when it looks like nothing's happening? Because if you can trust him in the secret place, you'll be ready for the spotlight when it comes. The beauty of God's secrecy is that it eliminates pride. You can't take credit for what you didn't see coming. When the blessing finally arrives, you'll know it wasn't your strategy. It was his sovereignty. You'll know it wasn't coincidence, it was divine coordination. You'll look back and realize that everything that felt delayed was really being designed. Everything that felt hidden was actually being healed. Everything that felt uncertain was being aligned for your good. When you understand that God works in secrecy, you stop panicking in the process. You stop trying to force what God is forming. You learn to rest in his rhythm, to trust that if he started it, he will finish it. You stop needing to see evidence to believe in his existence, because faith doesn't require visibility. It requires confidence in God's integrity. There's peace in knowing that God is working even when he's silent. He's working in your confusion, in your waiting, in your disappointment. He's orchestrating details that you'll only understand later. One day, you'll look back and thank him for every moment he kept hidden, every prayer he didn't answer your way, every door he closed, every detour he allowed. Because what he was doing in secrecy was setting you up for destiny. So if you're in that season where nothing seems to be moving, don't mistake the quiet for inactivity. Heaven is not on pause, it's on purpose. God is still writing your story. Even if you can't read this chapter yet, stay faithful in the unseen. Keep praying, keep trusting, keep walking, because when the time comes, what God has been doing in secret will be revealed in glory. God works in secrecy because what he's building in you requires divine privacy. And when the time is right, he will uncover what he has been crafting, not to prove your worth, but to show his power. Until then, rest in this truth. You may not see the plan, but the planner is still at work. Comparison is one of the most subtle yet destructive thieves of destiny. Always scream loudly, but it slowly drains your focus, your peace, and your purpose. The moment you start comparing your journey to someone else's, you stop appreciating your own. You begin to lose sight of your lane, your timing, and your calling. You start measuring your worth by someone else's highlight reel instead of God's divine plan for your life. Comparison kills concentration. It divides your attention, distracts your purpose, and distorts your vision. You cannot walk in clarity while constantly looking sideways. Every time you glance at what others are doing, you lose momentum in what God told you to do. You can't run your race effectively while peeking into someone else's lane. The fastest way to fall out of rhythm is to start watching others instead of working on yourself. God never called you to be like anyone else. He called you to be a you. And the more you compare, the more you lose connection to your own identity. Comparison is a distraction disguised as curiosity. It makes you question your pace, your progress, and your potential. You start thinking, why are they ahead of me? Why did they get that opportunity? Why is their life easier? But what you don't see are the hidden battles, sacrifices, and seasons of struggle behind their success. You're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's final product. Only unfair, it's unwise. When you live in comparison, you rob yourself of concentration. Your energy, which was meant for creativity, gets wasted on competition. You can't build what you're called to build while being consumed by what others are doing. Every moment you spend scrolling through someone else's blessings is a moment you could have spent cultivating your own. God doesn't bless distraction. He blesses focus. You start copying instead of creating. You imitate instead of innovate. You dilute your uniqueness trying to fit into a mold that was never meant for you. And when you lose authenticity, you lose anointing. The grace that works for someone else won't necessarily work for you because your assignment is not their assignment. What God gave them is customized for their capacity, and what God gave you is perfectly suited for yours. Think about it, David didn't wear Saul's armor. It didn't fit him. It wasn't his. If he had tried to fight Goliath with someone else's equipment, he would have lost. When he embraced his own tools, the sling and the stones, he won. Why? Because he stopped comparing and started concentrating. The moment you stop trying to wear someone else's armor, you'll find your aim again. You'll find your rhythm again. You'll find your victory again. It makes you overlook what's working in your life because you're too busy admiring what's happening in someone else's. You start minimizing your progress because it doesn't look like theirs. But remember, God doesn't measure success by visibility. He measures it by faithfulness. You might not have the biggest platform, but if you're walking in obedience, heaven sees it as greatness. When you compare yourself to others, you're essentially telling God that his plan for you isn't good enough. You're saying, God, what you gave me isn't enough. I want what you gave them. But God doesn't make mistakes. He didn't forget you. He didn't shortchange you. He designed your path intentionally. Every detour, every delay, every difference has purpose. Looks like lack in your season is often protection from something you're not ready for yet. It kills confidence. You start second-guessing your abilities. You stop trusting your instincts. You begin to believe that you're not capable because you're not moving at someone else's speed. God doesn't promote based on pace. He promotes based on preparation. Some people may seem ahead of you. That doesn't mean you're behind. It just means your timeline is different. Your season is specific. Your journey is sacred. Focus is one of your greatest weapons, and the enemy knows that. That's why he uses comparison as a tool to divide your focus. If he can get you to envy, he can stop you from evolving. If he can get you to compete, he can distract you from completing. He doesn't need to destroy you. He just needs to divert your attention. Once you lose focus, you lose fire. And once you lose fire, you lose momentum. You were never meant to compete. You were meant to contribute. Your gift fills a space in the world that no one else can fill. Your voice carries a frequency that no one else has. Your path was handcrafted by God himself. So why waste energy trying to duplicate what's already taken? You can dominate in your own lane. Concentration creates elevation. The more you focus on your assignment, the more God multiplies your impact. When you stop comparing, you start creating. You start seeing opportunities where you once saw obstacles. You start finding beauty in your process instead of bitterness towards someone else's progress. You begin to realize that purpose has no competition. Destiny doesn't require rivalry, it requires focus. You're not racing against others, you're racing against time. Your mission is not to outshine anyone. It's to outgrow your last version. It convinces you that your current season isn't enough, that you're missing something, but sometimes keeps you in a certain season not to punish you, but to prepare you. You don't need what others have. You need to maximize what's in your hand. The oil you're praying for is already inside of you. The breakthrough you're seeking is hidden in your obedience. The growth you desire comes from discipline, not distraction. The reason many never reach their full potential is because they keep looking around instead of looking within. They keep measuring their progress by someone else's timeline. But destiny doesn't operate on comparison. It operates on divine timing. The same God who started a good work in you will finish it. You don't have to rush. You don't have to copy. You don't have to compete. All you have to do is concentrate on becoming who He created you to be. When you focus on your purpose, you'll find peace. Peace doesn't come from being ahead, it comes from being aligned. When you're in alignment with what God called you to do, noise of comparison loses power. You stop looking left and right because your eyes are fixed forward. You stop feeling threatened by others' success because you realize that their win doesn't diminish your worth. Their blessing doesn't block your breakthrough. Comparison is the thief of gratitude. It blinds you to the miracles in your own life. You can't thank God for your blessings if you're busy wishing for someone else's. But when you shift your focus back to your own lane, gratitude returns. You start appreciating your journey, your growth, your lessons, and your progress. And gratitude refuels concentration. It keeps your heart centered on what truly matters. So stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. Stop measuring your progress with their metrics. Stop wasting emotional energy envying people who have their own struggles behind the scenes. God has you exactly where you need to be. Every delay is divine. Every difference is designed. Every detour is direction. You will never reach your full potential looking sideways. Keep your eyes on your lane, your purpose, your mission. Focus on growing, not competing. Focus on becoming, not impressing. The moment you stop comparing, you'll start concentrating, and concentration brings clarity. Because the truth is simple but powerful. Ours, comparison kills concentration. And if the enemy can steal your concentration, he can steal your calling. When you fix your focus on God and his purpose for your life, no comparison can derail you. No distraction can delay you. No competition can diminish what God has destined for you. Stay focused. Your lane leads to your legacy. There are seasons in life when everything seems still. The phone stops ringing, the doors stop opening, and the applause fades into silence. You start to wonder if you've been forgotten, if you've missed your moment, or if your prayers have gone unheard. What you may not realize is that silence is not the absence of movement, it's the preparation for manifestation. Every quiet season has purpose. We live in a world that celebrates visibility. People equate progress with noise, motion, and recognition. But God often works in ways that cannot be seen or heard. The most powerful transformations happen beneath the surface, in the soil, in the shadows, in the silence. Just because nothing seems to be happening doesn't mean nothing is happening. The quiet seasons are often the most crucial seasons, because that's where God does his deepest work. Before the seed breaks through the soil, it must first die in the ground. It must be buried in darkness, hidden, undisturbed. But while it looks buried, it's actually being planted. The soil may seem like confinement, but it's actually cultivation. The same is true for your life. When God places you in a season of silence, he's not burying you, he's planting you. Something is growing, developing, strengthening inside of you, even if you can't see it yet. The quiet seasons refine you. They strip away distractions and force you to focus on what truly matters. They teach you to listen, to wait, and to trust. In the noise, you can't always hear God clearly, but in the stillness, his whisper becomes loud enough to guide you. God doesn't speak through chaos, he speaks through calm. The silence is not punishment, it's preparation. Sometimes God hides you to help you. He conceals you not because you're unqualified, because you're not yet ready for the weight of what's coming. There are lessons that can only be learned in solitude: patience, humility, discipline, endurance. The quiet season is where you learn to depend on God alone. It's where you discover that your strength doesn't come from applause. Your validation doesn't come from visibility. Your worth doesn't come from recognition. When everything slows down, your character is being shaped. The delay is not denial, it's development. God is building something inside you that can sustain what he's planning to place upon you. Elevation without preparation leads to collapse. God loves you too much to let success destroy you. So he hides you for a time. He keeps you in the shadows until your roots are deep enough to handle the weight of your branches. In every quiet season, God is strengthening your foundation. He's teaching you how to handle rejection without losing faith, how to wait without becoming weary, and how to remain faithful even when no one is watching. Because if you can worship in private, you'll have power in public. If you can trust him when you can't trace him, you'll walk in authority when the doors finally open. You may not see the purpose of this season right now, but every delay carries divine intention. God uses silence to separate you from what's shallow. He removes certain people, certain opportunities, and certain distractions because they can't go where you're going. It may feel like loss, but it's actually alignment. The quiet season is not where you lose, it's where you're fine-tuned for your next chapter. The world measures success by exposure, Heaven measures it by endurance. The world asks, how visible are you? But God asks, how faithful are you? Can you stay committed when no one's clapping? Can you keep showing up when no one sees your effort? Quiet season tests your consistency. It proves whether you're serving for attention or out of obedience. It's easy to be passionate when the crowd is cheering, but can you still push forward when it's just you and God? That's the true test of purpose, because purpose isn't revealed in noise. It's refined in silence. The quiet season is where your motives are purified. It exposes whether you're chasing validation or vision, popularity or purpose. It teaches you that impact doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be lasting. Many people want elevation but reject isolation. They want growth without obscurity. But there is no resurrection without burial. There is no crown without the cross. Every great destiny is prepared in private before it's revealed in public. The season you're in may be quiet, but it's not wasted. It's sacred, it's strategic, it's necessary. When you feel hidden, remember that even Jesus spent years in obscurity before stepping into his public ministry. Carpenter's shop was his quiet season. It was where he learned, where he listened, where he waited. If the Son of God had to go through a silent season before stepping into purpose, what makes us think we can skip ours? The waiting season is not a delay in your destiny, it's a part of it. Don't mistake silence for separation. God hasn't abandoned you. He's preparing you. The quiet season builds strength that noise can't give. It's in the quiet that you learn to walk by faith, not by sight. It's in the quiet that you discover who you are without titles, without validation, without applause. When everything around you goes still, that's when God goes to work. Every quiet season reveals what truly sustains you. Strips away the superficial and centers you on the spiritual. You start to realize that your joy can't depend on circumstances, your peace can't depend on people, and your purpose can't depend on position. The quiet teaches you what's within you is greater than what's happening around you. When you finally step out of the quiet season, you'll realize that the silence didn't stall you, it shaped you. The waiting didn't weaken you, it worked in you. The loneliness didn't limit you, it launched you. Every tear watered the soil of your destiny. Every unanswered prayer strengthened your faith. Every delay developed your endurance. So don't despise your quiet season, embrace it. Let it mold you, stretch you, and prepare you. God is not ignoring you. He's incubating you. He's working things out behind the scenes that will make sense later. You may not see movement, but something is maturing inside you. What feels like isolation is actually incubation. You're not being overlooked, you're being overseen. God has his eye on you. He's ordering your steps, even in the silence. And when the time is right, he will bring you out of hiding. He will open the door that no one can shut. He will reveal what he's been developing in you all along. Every quiet season has purpose. It may not look glamorous. It may not sound exciting. It's sacred ground for your growth. Don't rush it. Don't resent it. Rest in it. Because when the quiet ends, you'll step into a new level of clarity, confidence, and calling. You'll realize that every moment of silence was a setup for your sound. When God finally speaks again, when the door finally opens, when the opportunity finally comes, you'll understand why he had to keep you quiet. Because what he was building in you privately was far greater than what you could have gained publicly. Every quiet season has purpose. It's not wasted time. It's holy time. It's not delay, it's design. And when it's over, you won't come out empty. You'll come out evolved, elevated, and ready for everything God prepared in the silence. In a world obsessed with recognition, applause, and validation, consistency has become one of the most underrated virtues. Everyone wants the spotlight, but few want the grind. Many desire to be celebrated. Few are willing to be consistent when nobody's watching. The truth is, clapping fades, but consistency remains. The applause of people is temporary. The discipline to keep showing up even when the crowd disappears, is what separates dreamers from doers, starters from finishers, performers from purpose-driven people. Consistency over clapping means choosing purpose over popularity. It's about doing what you were called to do, not because people are cheering, but because you are convicted. It's about staying faithful in the small, unseen moments, knowing that greatness isn't built on public praise, but private persistence. The stage doesn't make you. It only reveals the work you've already done in the shadows. You can't build anything meaningful on applause, because applause is seasonal. People will cheer you one day and forget you the next. If your motivation is built on validation, your energy will always fluctuate with people's opinions. But if your motivation is rooted in purpose, nothing can stop you, because purpose doesn't depend on popularity. It depends on consistency. The truth is, progress doesn't come from occasional bursts of inspiration. It comes from daily dedication. Showing up when you don't feel like it, working when nobody is watching, serving when nobody says thank you. That's where real success is forged, in the quiet, disciplined repetition of faithfulness. Consistency is a language that heaven understands. God blesses those who remain steadfast, those who are easily swayed by applause or discouraged by silence. Every great person you admire didn't get there overnight. They got there because they refused to quit. They kept sowing even when they didn't see the harvest. They kept pushing when no one noticed. They chose persistence over performance. You can't expect lasting fruit from momentary effort. Seeds don't grow just because they're planted. They grow because they're watered consistently. The same applies to your dreams, your calling, and your purpose. You can't water something once and expect it to flourish. You have to keep showing up again and again until the breakthrough comes. Clapping feels good, but it doesn't build character. It doesn't strengthen you. It doesn't sustain you when life gets hard. When the applause stops, will your passion remain? When people stop noticing, will you keep producing? When the likes and validation fade, will your mission still matter to you? That's the true test of purpose. Consistency over clapping means understanding that results take time. Growth is gradual, not instant. You may not see immediate change, but that doesn't mean you're not progressing. Every day you choose discipline over distraction, you're growing. Every time you stay faithful to your calling despite disappointment, you're maturing. Every time you keep walking by faith when it would be easier to quit, you're proving that your commitment runs deeper than emotion. It's easy to perform when people are watching. It takes maturity to stay consistent when no one is. True greatness is not built in the spotlight. It's built in solitude. The unseen hours of practice, the late nights of preparation, the quiet mornings of prayer. That's where champions are made. Consistency is the bridge between who you are and who you're becoming. Clapping is external, but consistency is internal. Clapping makes you feel good temporarily, but consistency makes you become good permanently. The applause of men can open doors. Consistency keeps them open. The praise of others can lift you for a moment, but discipline sustains you for a lifetime. You don't rise by being noticed. You rise by being reliable. Every person who has ever reached greatness had to choose consistency over clapping. Think about it. No one applauded the builder while he was laying bricks. No one celebrated the writer while she was staring at a blank page. No one cheered for the athlete while he trained alone in the gym. But when the results came, everyone clapped. That's the irony. The clapping always comes after consistency. Sometimes God will withhold the applause on purpose, not because you're not doing well, because He's teaching you to find your validation in Him, not in them. He wants to make sure your motives are pure, that you're working for purpose. Praise, if you can stay faithful without recognition, you're ready for responsibility. The danger of clapping is that it can make you addicted to approval. You start doing things to be seen rather than to be effective. You start chasing reactions instead of results. But consistency keeps your heart grounded. It reminds you that your job is to plant, not perform, to build, not boast, to be faithful, not famous. Sometimes consistency looks like repetition, doing the same thing over and over again without seeing the outcome you desire. But don't despise those seasons. That's where endurance is developed. You're building spiritual muscle, emotional maturity, and inner stability. You're learning to rely on God's timing, not your timeline. Every act of consistency is an act of faith that says, I believe something is happening, even if I don't see it yet. The world applauds results. Heaven rewards faithfulness. It's not about how many people noticed you. It's about how many times you refuse to quit. Every small act of consistency is seen by God, even when the world is silent. He's not looking for perfection. He's looking for persistence. Clapping can make you feel successful, but consistency makes you successful. Applause comes and goes, but discipline leaves a legacy. Don't trade your destiny for temporary validation. Don't compromise your process to gain popularity. Don't stop because you're not being celebrated. Keep going because you were chosen. When you stay consistent, eventually the clapping will come. But by then, you won't need it. You'll have built a strength that doesn't depend on people's approval. You'll realize that the reward was never the applause. It was the growth that came from persistence. Every great calling requires endurance. Every purpose-driven life demands perseverance. It's not about being impressive once. It's about being faithful always. The world might not clap while you're consistent, but heaven is keeping record. And when the time is right, God will honor every unseen effort, every private sacrifice, every quiet act of obedience. So if no one claps for you, keep showing up. If no one notices your work, keep building. If no one applauds your growth, keep going. Because success is not found in the sound of hands clapping. It's found in the steady rhythm of feet walking. Keep walking, keep working, keep believing. Consistency is not glamorous, but it's powerful. It's not loud, but it's lasting. It's not celebrated, but it's sacred. Every step of faith, every moment of perseverance, every silent sacrifice is moving you closer to what God promised. One day the clapping will come. The recognition will come. The reward will come. But by then, you'll have learned that it was never about being noticed. It was about being faithful. Because in the end, the ones who make the biggest impact are not those who seek applause, but those who remain consistent regardless of it. So keep showing up. Keep sowing. Keep believing. Because consistency over clapping is the mark of those who are not chasing fans. They're fulfilling purpose. And that's the kind of greatness that doesn't fade when the applause ends. It only grows stronger with time. There comes a point in every journey where waiting begins to test your faith. You pray, you prepare, you believe, yet nothing seems to move. The door remains closed, the opportunity seems delayed, and the dream feels distant. But what you must remember is this delay does not mean denial. God's timing is not late, it's divine. You are not behind schedule, you are in process. When God orchestrates the timing, no obstacle, no opposition, no human interference can stop what he has ordained. Divine timing is unstoppable. We live in an impatient world. We want everything instantly. Success, recognition, results. We measure progress by speed, but God measures it by stability. He is not rushing because he's not worried. He's not reacting to your clock. He's ruling by his calendar. While you're anxious about when it will happen, God is perfecting who you need to be when it does happen. Because premature promotion can destroy what patience would have prepared. Divine timing requires trust. It asks you to believe even when you don't understand. Asks you to keep walking even when you can't see the path. Sometimes God will slow you down not to punish you, but to protect you. He knows that if you got what you wanted too soon, you wouldn't have the character to sustain it. The delay is divine because it's developing you for destiny. You must understand, preparation always precedes manifestation. God is never wasting your time. He's using time to make you ready. The season of waiting is not empty space, it's holy space. It's where you're being refined, stretched, tested, and strengthened. You're learning to depend on God instead of deadlines, faith instead of frustration. Because when the moment finally arrives, won't be random, it will be right on time. Divine timing is not about coincidence, it's about coordination. God aligns people, places, purpose in such a way that when it happens suddenly, yet it's been in motion all along. You may not see the movement. Heaven is aligning the pieces behind the scenes. What feels delayed is actually being designed. What feels still is being strategically set up for your favor. When God says, not yet, it's not rejection, it's redirection. He's holding it until the right season because he knows timing is everything. The right thing happens at the wrong time, it becomes the wrong thing. Timing is the difference between potential and purpose. And when it's divine, it's unstoppable. Look at nature. Everything operates by timing. The sun rises and sets on schedule. Seeds sprout in their appointed season. Even the ocean waves move according to a rhythm set by God. Nothing in creation is rushed, yet everything is accomplished. So why do we think our lives should be any different? You don't need to force what God has already finished. What's meant for you will not pass you by. Sometimes God delays you because he's preparing the environment you're about to enter. You're ready, but the situation isn't. The connections you'll need aren't in place yet. The opportunities you'll walk into are still being built. You can't see it. Heaven is working in synchronization. When everything aligns, it won't just happen, it will flow. You won't have to beg or push. It will unfold naturally, effortlessly, divinely. The enemy loves to use delay to create doubt. He'll whisper, if it hasn't happened yet, maybe it never will, but that's a lie. What's divinely timed cannot be denied. The promises of God do not expire. He doesn't forget what he spoke over your life. Even if it seems like nothing is happening, God is working behind closed doors. He's setting up situations, moving hearts, shifting circumstances, and arranging divine appointments, all in your favor. Sometimes God will even let you face closed doors to protect you from counterfeit opportunities. Not every open door is divine, and not every delay is demonic. Some pauses are blessings in disguise. God knows what's ahead, and sometimes he slows you down to save you from a trap that looks like a treasure. So when doors close, don't panic, praise, because his no is often a setup for a greater us. Divine timing teaches patience. It also builds perspective. When things finally come together, you'll look back and say, now I see why it had to happen that way. The heartbreaks, the detours, the rejections, all of it was necessary. Every delay had direction. Every setback had strategy. Every waiting season was working something within you. The key is to remain faithful in the in between. Keep serving, keep praying, keep sowing, keep believing. Even when it feels like nothing is moving, you must remain consistent, because consistency is the proof of trust. The waiting season is not a waste. It's the womb of destiny. And when the time comes, everything will happen so suddenly that you'll realize it was worth every moment of waiting. When divine timing activates, it doesn't ask for permission. It overrides opposition. It breaks barriers. It dissolves delays. What once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. No power on earth can stop what heaven has already started. You can't manipulate divine timing, but you can prepare for it. You can align your attitude, discipline your habits, and strengthen your faith so that when the opportunity comes, you're ready. Sometimes what you think is a delay is actually God's way of preparing a platform. You're not being ignored, you're being incubated. You're not being overlooked, you're being overshadowed by his hand. God knows exactly when to reveal you, and when he does, it won't be small, it will be significant. You won't have to strive for attention. His favor will draw it to you. You might not understand the timing, but trust the timing, because divine timing never misses. It's not controlled by clocks or calendars. It's governed by God's sovereignty. He doesn't rush because he's not uncertain. He doesn't delay because he's disorganized. He moves when the fullness of time has come. When that moment arrives, everything will shift. When divine timing collides with divine purpose, doors open that no man can shut. Opportunities appear that no resume can explain. Connections form that no networking could create. Suddenly, what you've been praying for, preparing for, believing for manifests, not because you forced it, but because God released it. You can't stop divine timing, and neither can the enemy. What's ordained for you is protected by heaven. The timing may not make sense now, but it's setting you up for something greater than you imagine. Every waiting season is leading to a winning season. Every delay is positioning you for destiny. So don't grow weary. Don't lose hope. Don't let impatience make you settle for something less than what God promised. Keep Keep trusting that the God who started the process knows exactly when to complete it. His timing is not random, it's righteous, not delayed, design. Uncertain, unstoppable. When the time is right, you won't have to chase it. It will find you. You won't have to beg for it. It will belong to you. Because what's ordained by heaven is unstoppable on earth. Every obstacle, every opposition, every delay will bow to divine timing. So breathe, wait, trust. Your moment is coming, not by luck, but by appointment. And when it arrives, you'll realize that the wait was never wasted. It was working for you all along.